I do believe I was about 12 the last time I saw this, and as was pointed out in the chat earlier, cropped for television, full of commercials, and who knows what other scenes were lifted out, for our.
Oh yeah, and dubbed. Don't forget dubbed.
And dubbed, not subtitled. So it was kind of a whole new experience.
I think a lot of these Japanese movies that we saw as kids seemed really terrible, mainly because they were dubbed. The dubbing was always like very strange.
Yeah, it gives it a weird aspect for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember being kind of scary.
This movie is fucking bonkers.
It is. It's a nutty film.
I've got something to say.
This movie committed the ultimate sin for me. Is I was bored. I was just bored during the movie. There's
about probably an hour too much time spent in the police station. It's like that was the
an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's an hour and 26-minute movie, and an hour of it is completely irrelevant. You could have made
it's got such a great hook though, which is the disappearing people and the blob thing, like the
bubbling dishwasher.
Yeah, like you're seeing. It's such a simple thing too. Like I wonder if part of me was thinking while I was watching this, I was like, did somebody just like say, wouldn't it be cool if there was like clothes set up like a person would sit or something, but they were empty, and then what happened to them, and we have to think about that, and then they made up something based on just that visual imagery.
Scary.
Yeah,
that's literally every single movie that's ever talked about the rapture.
Yeah.
Like maybe you guys haven't watched enough like Left Behind, because
I don't think I've seen it on those movies. No.
Why am I waiting?
Guilty as charged.
Oh, I think it's funny as shit, so I watch all of that. But like it's very Left Behind. It's just like, oh, there's clothes on the street. That means the rapture happened.
Yeah. If I was also when I was 8, I would have been terrified.
It's scary. It's still scary. The stuff on the ghost ship is scary. It's so dark. And they really milk the finding the clothes, and one of the guys even puts the guy's pants on, the captain's pants on, and that's when he dies.
Which is why the Japanese version is probably better, because it starts with that.
Yeah,
I think I would have been a lot more interested in this movie if I'd seen the version that started with that, instead of having it in the middle after you have the
much police and singing.
Well, the weird editing around the truck hitting the guy, and then it's just like, oh, there's some clothes here. Like, what is happening?
I couldn't figure out what the
I like the aspect though that they were shooting at. You didn't know what they were shooting at, but they would always shoot before they.
Multiple times.
And I mean, later, of course, we see them openly shooting at the goo. But I loved it when the gangsters were just shooting at the ground, and you're like, "What the fuck are these guys shooting at?" And
that's in the beginning of the American version. You don't see why he's shooting down at the ground, and it's very.
I love that. I love that because it's a real mystery, and you know that whatever is happening is ultimately responsible for their demise and their disappearance, and obviously bullets didn't work, and I love that it's this mystery.
Well, and then Rita goes out of Arya's house or apartment, and then you hear the shooting downstairs, and then him screaming, and then she goes out in the hallway and collapses, and the cop comes in. And they go out and look, and the
I love that whole scene. That whole scene is so great.
In there. Yeah, or in the beginning scene. Well, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say the beginning scene. You know how like something happens and the professor comes in and he's like, I've got this weird ass theory. And it's like, you're just fucking crazy, go away. But they actually you can see them changing their minds.
Very slowly.
Yeah. Very slowly.
And some of the about institutionally forgetting and then remembering what crime is.
Yeah. And it's probably very process oriented for the Japanese audience. It's like, this is not a procedural, and you got to get people to think a different way about it.
What were you going to say? Almost like Dragnet meets the Blob.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Totally. What were you going to say, John?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. By the way, 1958, this movie came out and The Blob came out.
Actually, I literally just checked 30 seconds ago. So release date on the Blob was September 10th, 1958.
So this is a parallel. It's not like one copy the other.
This came out 5/28/59.
And
domestically.
No, well, H-Man meeting.
Yeah.
Was released in Japan 5/28/59.
Weird. Well, that's you know what? Zeitgeist is weird.
There's no fucking way that they saw the Blob and they turned this around in 6 months. So.
Right.
No.
Right.
Also,
well, especially with the special effects.
Short story.
It's just artistic osmosis.
Yeah, it was. It's Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that Tad has switched over to the nightclub shot, so now might be time for me to say this to you guys. So deep is my love is like the sea, ever changing, ever free, yet in captivity. So deep is my love, and boundless is the sky, and like the stars above, countless is my love.
I hate
you
this
are my
podcast,
treasure.
and I hate all of you.
And you are my treasure, I love. You are my enchanted charm. Here in the bomb center, heaven of you, I rest forevermore.
Yes.
You don't usually get this much torch singing.
No, the bomb center thing was like, yeah, this is a punk song, right?
All those songs are so atonal and weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird.
The music is terrible.
It's bizarre, man.
I actually, for a moment there, I was like, "Oh no, it's Cast a Deadly Spell again."
Yeah,
I know. But I'm almost thinking that maybe they cut the cheesecake out of the Channel 44 version when I was a kid.
Yeah, because I think I would remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're gonna remember that.
So much.
You gotta see this movie. There's a blob and melts people, and there's all these ladies with no clothes on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it is very much what if fucking Copacabana had half naked chicks in the background and also singing. Like it's.
Yeah.
I love after she melted, it's like her like bottoms were like perfectly laid out, like her little bikini bottom.
Oh yeah, I know. Where'd she go?
Did you guys catch the one guy who got melted and either his hair survived the process or maybe it was a toupee?
It was probably his toupee, I think. It was on top of
that. Was disturbing.
Yeah. I felt bad for the froggy.
Yeah.
They kept melting.
So hold on. So in the frog scene, and this really bothered me. There's really good special effects for the water people most of the time.
Liquid Man.
The frog scene, and it looks like they MS painted the green going across to
it's
fucking animation.
Yeah, it's hand animation.
And it was like, but you've done such a good job with the goo in the rest of the movie. Yeah. And it's just like, we're going to pour this thing. And when we pour this thing, it's going to be green hand animation slowly going across and then bubbles of soap.
But they did do a good job with all the people melting, like really good.
Yeah,
especially the last one on the ship, the guy who almost got away with the two others.
Yeah,
and they're looking back, and he's seriously still almost half formed, and he goes down, and that was really creepy.
So I read about this movie in a book about special effects back when I was a kid, like in the 70s or 80s, and Honda talked about that. They said during the scenes when they're deflating the people, they had the rubber deflatable people, and it made this ridiculous fart sound when they did it, and everyone's just trying not to crack up when they're shooting these scenes.
Here's some of that.
Yeah, that was cheesy. Yeah,
that was like the only time they used that technique, except for during the frog.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It's like the worst one in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Also,
like even the H-Man is pretty crappy, but the blobby stuff itself is cool.
Yeah.
Also,
I was never bored watching this movie. I was like, well, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I didn't get bored. I knew what kind of movie I was in for. I didn't get bored. Some of the parts weren't great, but the stuff that was good made it worth it.
What I really liked though was that I don't know that I remember seeing a movie filmed in Japan in the 50s that was in color like this.
Yeah.
And I got a kick out of just seeing the street scenes.
Same here.
I thought that last shot of the flaming river was fucking great.
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Lots of cool
this is
fireworks.
The most boring flames coming down a tunnel that I've ever seen in my life. Like,
sure, I agree.
Slowly walk. You could mole walk past the fucking flames and just be like,
Tad, you're not wrong.
We're going to the water.
You're not wrong, but I still thought it looked kind of cool. And
what do you want, Will Smith's girlfriend to jump out of the flames and get the dog out there too? At the same time? Is that what you want?
That's what I want.
Way too much dragnet, guys in suits standing around tables smoking cigarettes, and it becomes.
When you think about that was a practical effect, it's still pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
I must say, I loved the outfits that the Metropolitan Police were wearing when they went down into the sewer.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. That was one of my favorite parts. I want one of those suits. I want to do a movie where people wear those suits as an homage. Those were those gray things with the helmets and
Wes Anderson's working on it right now.
Oh my God,
yeah,
those
the
were
plastic
awesome.
over the hard hats.
Thank you, Jim. That was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, there it is. They were wearing the same thing you use when you go and fucking remove asbestos from somebody's basement.
Yeah. Dude, they were awesome. But they had collars too. It was
awesome. No, see how formal that is? He's wearing his tie and suit underneath there.
Right.
Really good.
Tees or something.
What's that?
Evo should have worn those.
Yeah, there it is behind Scott.
Yeah, I was just describing my Twitter profile picture. That's what you're doing right now.
So yes, while we're talking about the flames very slowly moving through the sewer tunnels, I did think that the action in places was so poorly done that this movie features the slowest and lamest car chase ever committed to film.
You're right.
And not only are they moving about 20 miles an hour in the whole thing, but the main characters that we're supposed to be concerned about are riding in the back seat in both cases, both cars.
Which is pretty odd for a car chase.
It's somehow slower than the car chase in The Way of the Gun, in which they get out of the car repeatedly while it rolls forward.
But it's more boring than that. That's
right. They actually did a Tad picked up on this, but they actually did a cut where they, in order to try to make it more exciting, they actually took the edge, the upper left edge of the frame of the picture, and they what do they call it when they tilted it in and then they snapped it.
Oh,
so it was like a I forget the technical term. John, you might know, anyone who edits video, but you can mess with the the aspect of the corners.
Yeah,
like you're moving it out of the Z axis, so it's
exactly. It's an axis shift.
Like you saw that architectural.
Yeah, so that was that really wonky cut from the crash to the windshield being shattered.
Mm-hmm.
It was really poorly done, and they actually took the upper left and they took it off its axis for just like a second when they cut to it, and then they snapped it into regular 100% frame so that you would think that the car went like this
to give it some impact.
And it was so cheesy.
An optical.
No, this was optical printer stuff anyway. All you do is turn the Z-axis on the optical printer lens. And
it was so cheesy though. It was like you had to really watch to catch it, but it was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I saw this movie. I can't believe I never saw it before.
I enjoyed it.
1/3 procedural, 1/3 fun nightclub story, 1/3 monster movie. What else could you ask for?
Right?
It just bored the shit out of me.
Well, I think that there was too much time spent in on the drugs and the nightclub. Like the fun stuff is the monster. Do the monster. That's the fun stuff.
And the nightclub. But
I also think it might be this
made up for it.
I think it might be this week. Like this week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Hard to get the volume turned down.
Yeah, everything's kind of turned down right now in terms of emotional
effects. I did this before the insurrection. I
will tell you though, this movie up with starring Scully and Mulder is an X-Files episode.
Oh, it is.
And you know what? It would be shorter and less boring.
And you probably have better effects. Now, this is something I brought up.
Jim hasn't had much of a say yet. I was gonna.
No, since before we jump off, something we were talking about on Twitter is that directors have things they like, and like James Cameron likes Vietnam War stuff and bioluminescence and blue filters and people talking tough. I think Ishirō Honda likes giant monsters and regular sized monsters and nightclubs because it's a theme that shows up over and over again in his movies. It's really weird. So I think that's why I was in there.
Recovering from the war, right?
Yeah. So everyone had a good drink and have a good time. Is that what's going on in the background? Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're basically having their version of the Roaring '20s because the Imperial shit is over. So
Babylon, Tokyo.
You don't have to deal with that.
Let's not forget that
we dropped a ton of amphetamines on them that had been.
Oh, they made their own amphetamines, man. Oh boy.
What?
but their cinematic obsession with like radiation and things like Godzilla and the
2 bombs dropped on you.
Exactly, and the blob.
That's gonna focus your attention a little bit.
It's all warranted. It's all warranted.
Why there's a lot of movies out of Oregon about random things exploding in the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so Ishirō Honda makes Gojira, right, which is about a giant monster awakened by radiation. And if that was a too heavily veiled allegory, then he makes this, where guys are melted by an atomic bomb and then come back.
It's an H-bomb.
H-bomb. In case you didn't get it,
it's Bikini Atoll.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Like, it's not so subtle.
Yeah,
and I like Gojira so much more than this. Like,
is there a nightclub scene in Gojira? I don't remember.
I think
not the original one. No.
I gotta be. I have to see that original film. Of course, I've seen some bad, like all the American bad remakes of Godzilla, but I like this.
Are you talking shit about Matthew Broderick right now?
No.
No, he's obviously an anti-Hank Azaria guy.
Oh, that makes
well,
sense.
I like his work on I like his work on The Simpsons very much. No,
Everyone
I
watch
think this is creepier though. I think this is creepier than the idea of God's like a big monster. It's cool, but this has got like this sort of like horror movie factor that I like.
Yeah. No, regular sized monsters are scary. Did you ever see the Matango? The Attack of the Mushroom People?
Yeah.
Good stuff. It's much scarier than this and a lot more on focus. There's a torch song in the beginning. The movie starts in a nightclub too, believe it or not.
Let's name Japanese monster movies that we know have nightclub scenes. Matango.
Two Mothra movies.
The Mothra
What's
movies.
the one with the giant flying tortoise? That has the 2 girls that sing.
That's Gamera.
No, that's Gamera. He's from a different studio. The joke is Gamera took all the scripts that Godzilla turned down.
I mean, they had singing in it.
Probably.
Yeah.
In '71, they did Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
At least that's what theater.
They had a psychedelic freakout scene in it.
Absolutely, they had the oil slick going, and all the girls were in body paint.
Yep.
And they sang in the American version. They sang "Save the Earth."
Save the Earth. We remember that, right?
God bless,
pollution.
Bob Wilkins. That's all.
God bless.
Yeah, God bless Bob Wilkins.
I still say this is a thumbs up for me for sure.
Yeah, at the margin of thumbs up.
It's not. We know, but you have, because I think you have to judge it on what it is.
Spectacular.
Like it's a lot of fun.
That's how we had one of those.
just based on those outfits alone in the sewer, I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, there you go.